Hey there, Anjali, Queen Bee from 95.7 The Beat, Tampa's #1 for hip hop, R&B, and The Breakfast Club. Big shouts out to Youngest in the Yacht Club podcast. This is awesome. I could never be the youngest in the Yacht Club because I'm too old at this point. But I'm so glad that Vince Serrano was doing it, and he is doing it and doing it and doing it well. Big ups to you.
They want the money and fame. We go to the city and we don't be tucking our chain. Woke up in paradise and we live in the drain. I know it won't be the same. Somos lo puro cocaine. Fly Latino gang. I used to dream of something like this. Remember times I was doing bad.
Youngest in the Yacht Club. I am Vince Serrano. And Youngest in the Yacht Club, we always, we like to encompass a lot of different things like the arts, sports, and entertainment, health, wealth, fitness. But today we're going to be working with music, and we have Queen Bee from 95.7 The Beat today, Tampa. Man, thank you for being here.
What? Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
I really so I grew up in Tampa, and just seeing, obviously 95.7, the leaps and bounds that you guys have been doing. You guys have been really on there. It's amazing that, Youngest in the Yacht Club is getting personalities like you on here. So
what?
Yeah, it's an honor. It's an honor for sure.
You make me feel so impotent.
Yeah, exactly. And we got a lot of questions.
Okay.
We got our viewers. With Youngest in the Yacht Club, we wanna ask an introductory question. So, who is Queen Bee?
I am a mom. I am Soraya's mother.
That's awesome.
Yes, Soraya Anna Marie Mcguire, a.k.a. Ray Ray, a.k.a. Sam. Those are initials.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Queen Bee stuff is amazing. It's a blessing.
Awesome.
But it all came about because I'm a mom and I need to feed my child.
Absolutely. That's big, right? That's big.
Yes.
How did you grow up? Like where'd you come from?
So I was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
My parents met in India. My mother is from Mumbai, India.
Wow.
My father was a sergeant in the Marines stationed at the embassy in Mumbai.
Wow.
And they met at a party at the Taj Mahal Hotel.
Wow.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah. And came out Queen Bee.
Came out Queen Bee.
Yeah, that's awesome. You grew up in Cincinnati, or?
I did. I grew up in Cincinnati.
That's awesome.
And my sister actually was born in India.
Okay.
My father, when he finished his tour of duty, then they moved to Cincinnati, Ohio, which was his home. And so, yeah, I grew up in Cincinnati, and then my brother came after me. There's 3 of us. And, yeah.
Just went from there.
Yeah.
How long did you live in Cincinnati?
Till I was 17 and went to college. I went to HBCU.
Okay.
The Central State University.
Okay. That's awesome. A historically black college and university. That's dope. How did it feel going to HBCU?
I had to.
Okay.
Because I went to a private Catholic school all my life.
That's awesome.
From the 1st to the 8th grade, there was one other black student in my class.
Wow.
One in my sister's. My brother, I think, had 2. In high school,
that's
private Catholic high school as well, we had about 10% maybe,
right?
African American. So I always wanted to go to an HBCU, especially after I saw Grambling State University band.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I want to go to HBCU. Of course, then it grew more than that, but that was my introduction. I was like, wow,
that's fire.
We have a school?
Yeah.
So I knew more about Mother Teresa and Mahatma Gandhi growing up because my mother taught us what she knew.
Wow.
So my father obviously was the breadwinner. He went out and worked. So I just felt like there was more to me that I wanted to and needed to learn. So I wanted to attend an HBCU.
And experience the culture, right?
Absolutely.
That's fire.
Absolutely.
Obviously, because you went to school and, in private school and the culture is different there. And
very much so.
How did you acclimate to the culture in a HBCU? Like, how was that experience for you?
It was wonderful. It's just my eyes wide open, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I was just ready to do it all.
Yeah.
I will say though that I've always been an honor student.
That's good.
And I went there on full academic scholarship.
Great.
I got my first C
in college
at Central State.
Yeah.
In African American Studies.
Oh man.
Because I felt like they're starting in the middle because you're supposed to, I'm doing air quotes, you're supposed to know certain things,
right.
I guess. But I didn't know that. From where was I supposed to learn this? Of course, we didn't realize that there's independent study, but I didn't know there was something to learn.
Wow.
You see?
Yeah.
So Central State was just everything to me. It helped me discover part of who I am.
That's amazing. It's dope that you actually see that. And was it devastating getting your first C?
What? Sick. I was sick.
Like what? And then you're really trying to put it together, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I had a 4.9 before that.
Hey, got to come down to earth, girl. That's what they do. So you went there for 4 years?
I did.
Awesome. And then how was the rest of the, like graduating and things like that?
Oh, it was fantastic. I was involved in all the things. I was a student government. I was a Central Bell dancer with the band.
Wow.
Again, with HBCU, so the band is everything.
Yeah.
I'm an AKA, Alpha Sweetheart.
Oh, okay.
It's Black and Gold 2 years in a row for
Okay.
Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity.
There you go.
So yeah, I did all the things. I loved my college experience.
That's
Miss Bronze. There's a contest called Miss Bronze and Mr. Bronze. Like a pageant situation, but of course GPAs and all that are in consideration. So yeah, I loved it. I don't think that the rest of my journey would continue as it has had it not been for Central State University.
That's amazing. So you graduated. What did you do after that?
So while I was in school, I got engaged.
Okay.
And my wedding was 2 weeks after my graduation.
Congrats.
Thank you. And
you checking them all off the list.
all of the things. All the things.
For sure.
I was in the Miss Ohio USA pageant.
Wow.
Got an award, of course.
Congrats.
Thank you. But then, I got married and had my baby, my daughter. And I was looking for a job in media. My major was communications, TV and radio. I wrote for the school newspaper. I did news for the radio station. And I had an internship with ABC, which was supposed to be a job when I graduated. But, of course, things happened.
Things changed.
Program director, station director, all that changed.
Wow.
And they were like, oh, great. Well, at least you got money out of us.
That's crazy.
I was like, but I really want a job.
Yeah, I'm trying to work.
So, but I ended up doing an internship with one of the reporters. And he went on to be an anchor, is still an anchor, Emmy Award-winning anchor to this day.
Wow.
And he used to do a TV show outside of doing the news called NAACP Presents. And he said, when I go on vacation, you're going to do the show. And I was like, I'm going to do the show? You're going to do the show. I'm not even on the payroll. Yeah. So I'm like, well, okay, I'll get my whole tape together. So, but I was like, we got to change the name, though. We got to change the name because it sounds kind of dated. And I don't want people not to watch because they think, oh, it's going to be we shall overcome, which is, of course, wonderful.
Right. But it's dated.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we changed the name to Issues, and I was the host of Issues.
Wow.
We'd go out of town or on vacation, and it was a fantastic experience for me to interview city leaders, elected officials, everyday people. And it led me into people seeing me on TV, including the program director at the radio station.
Wow. And so my next question is, how did radio come about? How did that transition?
So my dad was shopping around my cassette tape.
Okay. Your cassette tape.
Yeah, this was when cassette tapes was a thing. That's
For
how you
sure.
listened to air checks. And so he took my cassette tape to a couple radio stations, one of them being The Wiz and 100.9 FM. And the news director was like, this is when radio stations did news as well.
Wow.
So we had our own news department. And they said, well, we'll give it a listen. They gave it a listen. Simultaneously, they see me on the TV. And so they were like, okay, well, let's talk to her. So I went up for an interview, and apparently their field reporter, had a bad car accident and was going to be out for 3 months.
Wow.
He said, we're going to hire you for 3 months.
See how it works.
And see how it goes. And I thought, oh, you ain't getting rid of me.
Hey.
So it was wonderful. So, yeah, I did the morning show with the morning show guys, and I would just come in with the news breaks. And then I would do a split shift. Then I would leave, and I would come back in the afternoon and do more stories. And then I would go cover school board, city council meetings, a fire, robbery,
Everything.
whatever. Yes. And it was a big deal when you saw that Mike flag on the news. It's like, look, she was there. You look, her flag.
Wow.
So yeah, but it taught me a lot. It taught me how to interview, how to get the who, what, when, where, how, quickly, fluently, and get the facts.
Right.
And so one day the program director of the radio station was like, you know what? You're not the news girl. Yes, I am. I am the news girl. He's like, no, you're not. I thought he was trying to fire me.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was like, no, you're a personality. We want to offer you a job.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's how you...
And that's how it went down. My daughter hadn't even turned 1 yet.
Man, so you were just hustling, basically.
Hustling. Same as now.
Wow. Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you went from that. How long were you there at the Wiz?
I was there for almost 4 years.
Okay.
And then that took me to Louisville, Kentucky for 3 years.
Okay.
The company was called Blue Chip Broadcasting.
Okay.
They bought The Wiz. 4 black business owners got together and bought it so that no one else could buy it and change the format.
Wow.
They wanted to keep it African-American hip-hop and R&B. So then they bought 20 stations, north and south. And they said, where you want to go? And I was like, I'd rather go south. They were like, Louisville, Kentucky, you'll be our first transfer. And then they bought the station in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I was like, wait a minute. You want me now to be your first time 3 transfer? The 3-time transfer? They were like, yeah, we know you can get it popping. I was like, oh. So I tell my dad, I'm going to Minneapolis. He was like, you don't know nobody in Minneapolis?
Yeah.
Prince is there. I'm going.
What are you doing in Minneapolis? What's in Minneapolis, right?
Prince. He's there. And I'm going to cleanse myself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka.
There you go. There you go. That's awesome. How was that? How was the experience?
I loved it.
That's dope.
I feel like, I grew into my adulthood professionally going into Cincinnati and Louisville. I grew into my womanhood in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Wow. That's awesome. Why do you say that?
Because it's a process. You're just learning how to learning how to be an adult.
Right.
Adulting ain't easy.
Right.
So it was, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a professional businesswoman. By the time I got to Minneapolis, I was figuring all that out. So I got to focus on, who am I as a woman?
Wow. And and that's how you figured out you were a mom.
Absolutely.
You also figured out that you were a personality, right?
Absolutely.
How long did you stay there?
In Minneapolis?
Yeah.
12 years.
12 years.
Yes.
The other stints seemed like a little bit shorter. What was the difference in Minneapolis?
I feel like Cincinnati and Louisville were stepping stones. Cincinnati was my home. That's where I was born and raised, and it was a blessing to be able to get my first job there, being that it was a top 25 market. It's not normal. That's not usually how it goes.
Right.
So
you gotta start from the way bottom.
Started from the bottom. Now we're here. But I'm like, I want to start in the middle.
Yeah.
I want to start at the very bottom.
Absolutely. You took a little jump real quick.
Right.
Right.
And by the time I got to Minneapolis, I don't know, I felt like I had some experience under my belt, and I felt like, okay, I know what I'm doing. And for the things that I didn't know what I was quite doing, I didn't mind taking a risk. Because again, I needed to feed my child. Failing never really entered my mind.
Beautiful.
Like, what if I fail? I never thought of that. I was always thinking about, okay, well, how am I going to get over there?
Right.
How am I going to get to that next step?
You're going to figure it out.
Well, I'm going to figure it out as we go. And my daughter was, growing and doing her thing, being the superstar that she is.
Wow.
So I was like, yeah, we're here because she's forming her identity, and she's a stellar athlete. She's a basketball player, and so her career was stellar athlete, period. MVP'd in everything, but basketball then was the thing. She ended up being the 5th ranked point guard in the country.
Wow, congrats. I played basketball, so that means that hits me right here.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And I played point guard, so that actually a little bit deeper.
Yes, I feel all of that.
Yeah,
So she ended up signing with the University of Miami.
Wow.
Which is why I was like, okay, Lord, I'm listening. I'm going to Florida.
Oh, Florida. I was going to say Miami of Ohio, Miami.
Right.
Wow,
and
she went.
And it's funny that
went
you
to the
say
U.
that because in Minnesota, the University of Minnesota is also UM.
Wow, yeah.
So the front page of the sports page says Mcguire chooses the U, ... the other one.
I bet you that was a little bit of flack on you, huh?
It wasn't.
You got to deal with the celebrities, right? 2 celebrities, basically.
Right.
That's awesome. So you were there for 12 years. Where did you became the personality? How far did you go up in the personality range, or in the, I guess you could say the ladder, up the ladder?
Okay. I brought the ladder.
Okay. Yes,
my ladder.
You did bring the ladder. You were there. You had the experience too.
So I did the morning show.
Wow.
In Louisville as well as Minneapolis for the first several years, maybe 6-7 years. And then I did middays the rest of my tenure there.
Wow.
And when I got to Minneapolis, it was 1999. Again, Prince was there. So that's when it hit 2000.
Yeah.
Party, yo.
Yeah, you got that. Yeah, everybody thinking
everybody's looking like, what's going to happen?
I was saying, I was like, what's going to happen?
Right, 2K was, but nothing happened.
Right.
But there was no hip hop on a regular basis on FM. It's Minnesota.
Yeah.
So at the time it was 5% black. The state is 5% black.
Yeah.
So the only hip hop they're playing on the mainstream station was Jay-Z, 50 Cent, Ludacris. Then T.I. started getting some play.
Right. Basically top 40.
Absolutely. Top 40. There you go. Top 40.
Yeah. And you get one song maybe an hour.
Exactly.
I hated
and as
those
you
times.
say, that era, hip hop was top 10 on the pop charts. At some, you can go back and look at some of those charts, and there's 8 hip hop records in the top 10.
And they're only playing one of them.
Right. Right.
Yeah, they get one spin. Yeah.
So when we came along, we're hip hop and we're FM. We're hip hop and R&B. Oh my goodness, we were instant superstars.
Of course.
And my name is Queen Bee.
Oh yeah, people were going right to the station.
Like who is this? And by the way, I did not name myself. My second program director in Louisville, Kentucky named me because the station was B96.
Ah.
So they calling me the queen of B96.
Wow.
His ratings were so great, they called him the king. So if I'm the co-host, then that makes me the queen. But that gets so long and to say every time.
Yeah.
So they shortened it to Queen Bee. And then it's just stuck now, 30 years.
Amazing. As a woman in the industry, obviously 30 years in the industry, how does it feel to know that you've lasted so long in an industry and that you're continuing, a legacy basically?
It's fantastic. Because at first you're like, how did I get here? Since I can't sing, I'm not going to sing it for you. How did you get here? Exactly. I'm like, wow, we did it.
Yeah.
And at the station in Louisville, there was one other young lady that was on the whole station, and she did middays. I did the morning show, as I mentioned. When I got to Minneapolis, I was the only one female on the morning show, and then that was it. By the time I went to middays, then there was a young lady on the morning show and a young lady in the afternoon show with the afternoon host with him. So, but yeah, it's kind of mind-boggling though.
Yeah, because I know you're just doing it, and in the process, you're just getting where you need to go.
Correct.
But when you look back at it, like
where was we at?
Yeah, like, do you feel like you paved the way for other people like yourself, and especially for hip hop, period, regardless male or female? Like, think about.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Because I try to, hold my hand out to pull up the next one. I'm glad to recommend someone to host something or drop your resume, use me as a reference, or just uplift. And now this social media age, there's personalities now, young ladies, that I'll quickly like their things or repost or share or just leave a comment that you go girl or you're doing it. Yeah. Keep it up.
And it means a lot.
I hope so, but I'm not, to tell you the truth, I'm not doing it for recognition. I'm doing it just to let them know that you can do it.
Yeah.
There was no one to tell me you're doing great. Great job. Keep doing it. Except for the lady that hired me at the Wiz in Cincinnati. She's still a good friend. In fact, she was just inducted into the Broadcasting Hall of Fame in Dayton, Ohio, and I flew there to make sure that I was there with her. That was in October.
Congrats to her, and it's great to have mentors like that. Yeah, people who are like you said, like fanning your flames.
Yeah,
and sometimes you can't even get your own people to like your posts. So you know what I'm saying? You over there liking and commenting and telling people, that's inspirational, especially in today's age. You know.
Yeah.
So your daughter gets signed
Yes.
to play college basketball.
Correct.
The U.
Yes.
Right. You decide to go to Florida.
Yes.
Why'd you choose? Where'd you choose? Like, where were you going?
So I was going with whoever would give me a job. I was thinking, okay, I'm a number one personality, rated personality. I've got this bona fide, certified show. I'm hoping that I can now send out my. Now we have CDs.
Yeah.
And then somebody's going to go, oh, I like her sound. And that's what happened. So Tampa was looking for me at the time that I was trying to get here when my daughter got to University of Miami.
Wow.
Which was amazing because when I tell you literally the bullet points of what they were looking for was me.
Wow.
And clearly they felt the same way because they hired me. And I thought, okay, this is perfect. I'm 3.5 hours away from Miami. I can still get there for games and so forth. My dad had retired and moved to Oviedo.
Oh, yeah.
My sister and her husband had moved from England to Canada to Orlando, and they were in Waterford Lakes.
Wow.
So I think that's why my daughter ended up choosing University of Miami over USC and Rutgers and the other of her final five. So, yeah, it was wonderful. I'm like, I'm close to everyone now.
Yeah, you're right there. You're in the triangle, basically.
Right there. So it was wonderful. I got to see her home games, a couple of away games, too. Visit my dad even now as often as I can. I'll be there on Sunday for Father's Day.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's where it's going. That's awesome. How was the experience? We talked about this off camera. The difference between Minnesota or Cincinnati and Florida.
Right.
Was there a culture shock?
Well, there's not a culture shock for me because, again, even when I was in Cincinnati, I went to a private Catholic predominantly white school all my life.
For sure.
So then I went to the HBCU, got my culture back in my life.
got a little bit of injection of culture.
Exactly. So when I get to Minnesota, I had seen this before.
Right.
But I will say that all of us know where to be. We're going to be where we at.
Right.
We're going to be together.
Right.
And especially with a station that's hip-hop and R&B. Oh, okay. That's what I'm
That's
supposed
us.
to be.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing about Minneapolis, St. Paul, is if you like hip-hop and R&B, you're coming to the party. So there was a little bit of everybody that goes. And it is not, people say it's a melting pot. I don't agree. I like to call it a gumbo.
Yeah.
Because you definitely have all kind of cultures in one dish, but they're not blended together. Everybody is, you know, oh, they're Hmong, or they're African, or they're Somalian, they're native. You definitely know who's
everywhere.
From everywhere. They're Mexican. You can go down a major street called Broadway, and you can see where the communities are, and they welcome you. There's restaurants and shopping and all kind of thing, and they want you to come spend your money in their neighborhoods. They welcome you, and it's fantastic because you get to experience a little bit of everything.
Right. I feel like all the Broadways have ethnicity. They're like MLKs and Broadways. They got and that's everywhere in America. If you live on a Broadway, you don't know where you at. Like, you know it ain't regular.
Exactly.
You know?
So, but it was definitely the Midwest. The Midwest is the Midwest. This is the South.
Right.
And I don't want to get political. We'll be here all day. But what Florida is going through right now is...
It's wild.
It's wild.
Yeah, and was that something that you were seeing as well up there?
Not really. Not really. I was so shocked, disappointed, hurt when George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis. Shocked.
Yeah, and we were saying that it felt like it was home everywhere. It felt like it was up the street.
Absolutely.
For it to hit home like that.
But because we have such a small black population, the community is very progressive. There had been a black mayor, a black police chief, and again, 5% black, but we're making moves, we're doing things, we're making decisions, we're involved in our community. So yeah, it was shocking that I didn't expect that to happen there.
Yeah.
Even though the breakdown of the culture.
Yeah, you could see you know firsthand.
Yeah.
How's it been at the beat now that you're like? How long have you been there?
As of May 10th, 12 years.
12 years, man. Congratulations!
Thank you.
You know, I do you feel like you've grown with the city?
Absolutely.
How does it feel? Like, you know, like obviously you're like a staple and personality on the radio. You've seen the beat grow, right? Now they're iHeart, right?
Yes.
And that's kind of amazing, right?
It is amazing. But I will say that I don't work here. I live here. I play here. I pray here. This is my community.
That's awesome.
So I'm always involved because it's my community.
Yeah. Amen.
When
to
people
that.
see me, I'm like, oh, what you doing here? Same thing you're doing here.
Right, I live here. Right, like I like. What do you do here?
Yeah.
I'm down the street.
Right.
But those are things right now that you've implemented yourself in the community. You've actually been, you know, a part of it. And what do you see for Queen Bee in the next 3, 5, 10 years?
Well, I would love to stay here. As I told my daughter, I can't follow you no more. You grown now.
Right.
That's right. You good. Not that she needed me to.
I go on vacations where you go.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I've seen myself doing more philanthropy. I've started my own company, Queen Bee Productions, for doing voice work and TV commercials.
Wow.
People they see me on the Maher TV commercials, and so I do that kind of thing as well. But yeah, then maybe early retirement.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. That's dope. Do you plan on staying in Florida?
I would love to.
That's awesome.
And specifically Tampa Bay.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean the city's grown so much. It's grown to the point where it's like I can't even believe
Right.
I came in 2000 and I was like I can't. Why is this place not like L.A. and now it's like turning into like a place like L.A. and I'm like, oh, what is going on?
I live in the Berg since I've been here. So
Yeah.
I love St. Pete.
That's awesome.
Love the water.
Yeah, and that's growing as well. Like it's
Leaps
going
and bounds.
Yeah, it's like turning into this. Not the. It's a big small town now. Like for real.
For real.
Like it's a city now. Like that's dope. You know, I always ask. If you could speak to your younger self, maybe 30 years back, maybe 40 years back, at any point in time, what's a piece of information or a piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Don't be afraid. I am the most forward-thinking, terrified person you'll probably ever meet.
Yeah, that's weird. That's like that's polarizing.
Exactly. Right. When I got the job offer and I was going by myself from Cincinnati I got divorced when my daughter was 2. So I'm going from Cincinnati to Louisville by myself with my baby. Then I'm going to Minneapolis by myself with my baby. Then I'm following her to Florida by myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
And each time I was like, okay, I was scared. I was afraid.
For sure.
The fear wasn't of failing because that never came in my mind. The fear was just of trying something new, starting all over again. Just because you come to another city and you have all these accolades from your former city doesn't mean it's going to happen that way again. You still have to pound the pavement. You still got to put in the work. You still have to do all the things that you did before. Although you've done them before, you didn't do it here.
Right.
So
and you got to start. You're not starting from scratch, but you're starting from
absolutely
experience. You still got to start though.
Yes.
That's dope. If you could give any type of advice to an up and coming broadcast major, someone who wants to be in your industry, what would you tell them?
Don't stop. Don't you have to be committed. It's not going to happen on your time. It's going to happen on God's time. But it's going to happen in the time that the work that you put in, and you can't get discouraged because you get a no. You have to have thick skin. When going for my first job, I graduated cum laude.
Wow.
I have all these wonderful accolades. I got tapes from the TV station. I'm placed in the Miss Ohio USA. I got all these things going on. And I put in 100 resumes and got 100 no's. But I was like, but I still need a job.
Yeah, it only takes one yes.
It only takes one yes. It only takes the right person to give you that right yes. the yes rather. So I've met people that, okay, that person's not feeling me. I know they're not feeling me. So I'm not going to depend on getting a yes from them. But you can't be discouraged because that's not the person that was going to give you the yes anyway.
Yeah, you already know.
So you can't stop. You can't stop. When you stop, that's when it stops. That's when it's over. So you either win or you practice
Go home.
for the next time. You practice for the next time so that you are ready. And each time you get a no, you take something with you that, okay, maybe I need to do this. So next time I'm going to do this and this. And so then
You start stringing on a chain and start figuring out the things that you got to do to make it happen.
there you go.
That's fire. I mean, I'm helping you with this.
Right, exactly. Thank you.
I'm learning
I
at the
needed
same
you for
time.
that, right.
No, I'm
But
learning
like
at
you
the
said,
same time.
That chain that you're building, you're pulling yourself to get there.
Yeah.
So you need that chain.
I feel like, especially, and this is me with Youngest in the Yacht Club, but like this is a form of journalism,
Absolutely.
and it's like the new journalism. So it's like we're paving the way and we're learning as we're going. So, getting that game from somebody who's been in the game for 30 plus years, it's huge. That's why I'm like, you're helping me when I ask those questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would also say real quick, what is for you is for you. You can't worry about or compare yourself to other people. There was a radio personality here. She's not here anymore, but we used to be invited to speak at things, or I did this one event, a girls' conference. She was on the panel. I was the moderator of the panel, and a question was asked about jobs and gigs and things like that. And I just had to stop the whole room for a minute and just remind everyone that I am not in competition with this young lady just because there's only two of us.
Wow.
She could, first of all, she could be my child because she's young.
Yeah.
Second of all, everything that she wants to do, been there, done that, got a T-shirt. So I'm on to with my journey, and she's moving with hers. So the things that she is achieving and opportunities that she is acquiring are meant for her. So that's not for me. And what's meant for me is not for her. It's meant for me. So there isn't a competition. There isn't a competition.
Yeah, everybody can eat.
Everybody can eat.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you feel about radio in today's age?
Radio is challenging because there's so much music, so much good music, but there are all kinds of powers that be outside of my position and pay grade, quite honestly, where deals are made to get played on the radio that I have nothing to do with. So I try to stay in my lane and focus on being the best personality that I can be and doing it in my way. I believe in public service and community service involvement. So I do a lot of that, which ends up getting me a lot of work paid-wise on the radio. And also, like, when things, for instance, I got a call one day that said, would you like to interview President Barack Obama? I said, is that a trick question?
For sure.
And so I got to interview President Barack Obama.
Wow.
And then I got to tell him there's only one person that I would want to interview more than you, or as much as you. He was like, who? Michelle.
Hey.
So I got to interview her 2 weeks later.
Wow. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you being here, man. You doing so much. One day we get Barack on here. I don't know. Youngest in the Yacht Club, ask him a few questions.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. No, that's dope. It's amazing. Queen Bee, where can the people find you? Like, how can they get, follow you, your movements, the things
I'm
that
outside.
You do? Yay!
I'm in these streets.
Hey, she outside.
So it's Anjali, Queen Bee, on Instagram and Twitter, and Anjali Queen Bee Mcguire on Facebook.
That's awesome.
And Anjali is Anjali. Anjali is an Indian name. It means divine offering.
That's amazing. I promise I was going to say at the beginning, and I didn't want to say it wrong. That's why I just went to Queen Bee. I was like, you know what? She told me Queen Bee's good. I'm going to go with that. I had already said it wrong once. I was like, nah, we ain't saying it wrong on the pod.
You're so good.
Thank you. I one of the biggest things, again, like I said, it's an honor to have you here because, I feel like, 95.7 The Beat was one of my favorite, like, especially like, at one point, they were like the leading hip hop station in this area. Like, you listen to 95.7 when you want to get all the good stuff,
Sure,
you know?
sure.
And so now I truly appreciate somebody who's been there last 12 years, somebody who's really just taken, you've been there in the industry for 30 years. I want to give you your flowers. I know we got some mutual friends, and so you're here, but I definitely want to wish you, the best and grateful for you to be on the show.
I am truly honored and humbled for the opportunity. You have just made my day. Made my whole week, made my month. This is amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Is there any message that you want to leave the viewers?
Well, I'm super proud of you, by the way.
Really?
Yes.
Thank you.
Because you're doing all the things. And the fact that we talked about that chain earlier, you are a link to helping us to build this chain of a community. And that's awesome.
Thank you, because sometimes, you know how it is. Sometimes you keep turning the wheels and you want the truck to go faster.
Yeah. You're like, is anything happening? Did I go anywhere? Are we almost there?
Yeah, it's like the ship. Youngest in the Yacht Club.
Exactly.
Sometimes you feel like you're treading water. And it'd be these times too,
Right.
where it's like, hey, look, how do we tell the story of the people who are telling the stories?
Yes.
And that's what I like to do, and I think that's what Youngest in the Yacht Club is about.
It is. It's all about the journey. The destination is fantastic, us trying to get to the destination, but it's the journey
It is.
is where the magic lies.
Thank you so much. You've been great, Anjali, Queen B.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Let them know where to find you one more time.
Yes, Anjali, Queen B, the letter B. Anjali, Queen, letter B on Instagram and Twitter, and Facebook is Anjali, Queen B, Mcguire.
Fire. Thank you for being on the show. We'll
Thank
see
you for
next.
having me.
We'll have you on again.
Yes, see you out here in these streets.
Let's do it. We outside.
We outside.